Hello everyone, welcome back to my second video on YouTube. Still getting over this, it's a little scary to be on here, but welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be making this. I'm not sure what it is. Beheaded zombie mummified corpse thing. I don't know exactly, but it looks kind of cool. So for the materials that I used for him, I used latex, Saran Wrap, acrylic paint, and believe it or not, coffee grounds. It'll make sense towards the end of the video. If you're not too interested in this one, which is, why the heck did you click on this video? No, I'm just kidding. If you're not as interested in this project, I do have another one. I also made this little guy in my very first YouTube video, which was my last video that I made. And it's just a fat corpse made pretty much with the same materials minus the coffee grounds, front and back. If you're more interested in making this little guy rather than this little guy, then check out that video as well. So thanks again for clicking on the video, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. This right here is a skull that I got for $1 at Dollar General. If it's not around the spooky season for you, you can get it online. It also makes for a pretty cool decoration. We're going to start this process using black acrylic paint and a couple different sized paintbrushes, and I already got black paint on me. Wonderful. We'll be going in and filling in his nose and his eyes, basically wherever you see the gray area except for the jaw. For the design that I'm doing, most of the jaw will be covered up by latex and tissue acting as the skin. But we'll be also filling in all the cracks on his little face. Oh, and we'll fill in the teeth. I think I said that. Did I say that? I don't know. This is what it should look like when it's all finished. Alright, tissues, liquid latex, and then these cool little spatula things. For the purposes of this, I'm only going to use the smaller one. It's just my preferred tool over a paintbrush. Alright, grab yourself a tissue with no print because print will show up on your finished product. We're just going to be taking layers of latex and tissue together for this step. We'll fold the tissue into fourths hot dog style. Go ahead and twist the end and pull. This will give you the nice rigid effect that is easier for blending, as the straight edges will show up on the finished product as well, and it'll be a little more obvious. Do the same thing to the other side. And another way to do this, some people prefer this way, is literally just to rip it like you do the perforated edges of a notebook piece of paper. I kind of like the twisting method a little better, but whatever you prefer. Doesn't matter. Next, you want to decide what kind of shapes and sizes and how big, how small you want the tissue paper to be. You want both the ply on there. I like 2-ply just for that extra strength. I usually just rip a bunch of different sizes, different shapes, just random. Pour in your latex. Careful not to spill it like I did. This was actually the second take. Put down a layer of latex on a small area. Put down your tissue paper and do the entire skull. This will take a while, you'll need patience for this one. Listen to some music, watch a YouTube video, read a book. Actually, that'd be kind of hard. If you can read a book while doing this, you're on another level than I am. You don't even need this tutorial. Don't try to cheat me. Audiobooks do not count. This is what it should look like when you have one layer of latex and tissue. Now we're going to do another layer, so do the exact same thing you just did all over again. This is what it should look like when you're all finished with your second layer. So I just went in with these sewing scissors, So I just took them and cut any holes in the skull that I thought would be good places for kind of a decaying factor. So just under the nose, on the forehead, on his jaw, one on the side of his head, and one on the back of his head. Next we'll go in with some white acrylic paint, some green, some burnt umber, and some yellow ochre. First going in with white, and you'll want a little bit more burnt umber than white. And then we'll begin to paint the first layer onto our skull. This is going to be the base coat, so it'll be a little bit lighter than all the rest. Next, we're just gonna grab our burnt umber again and just the little teeniest, tiniest amount of white. And you're just gonna wipe it away. You really don't want too much on your brush at all. Then we're gonna go over and lightly, keyword lightly, we're just gonna fill in all of the spots that we just painted over with a little bit darker of the coat. Don't coat it too much, it just has to be a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a highlight, not too much, not too little. Next we'll be taking tissue and filling in the eyes and a little bit of the cheek area, or what would be the cheek area. Folding the tissue again, hot dog style, we're going to do the same thing we did for the first layer. Again, twisting it, pulling it, opening it up, and then also pulling apart some general eye shapes that we're going to be using in just a second. So we're going to cover those up and make sure that they're going to cover the full area of the eye, taking latex and the small spatula. We're going to pour the latex in, take the small spatula, and cover the eyes up. Make sure you get a good coat of latex on this. The more latex and tissue you put down over the eyes, the stronger it will be, and the more sustainable your finished product will become. Next, we're just going to be taking strips of our tissue paper, and we're just going to be twisting them. What am I doing here? What am I making? Oh, we're making the lips, guys. We are making the lips for our little guy right here. Okay, so yes, we're going to be twisting up tissue paper and placing them down. You don't need an exact measurement, just kind of a relative measurement, and then we're just going to be adding a layer of latex to hold them in place. Then we'll be taking our little scissors, and I just cut holes into the cheeks wherever I thought they would be appropriate or look the coolest. Whatever you guys want to do, you can create holes, you cannot create holes, this is up to you. This is just a little bit of an extra detail that I think really goes a long way. To create the holes in the eyes, I just took an X-Acto knife and poked a hole through the eye and then just kind of picked it apart however I thought it would look good. And I also took scissors to cut out the rest of the shape because an X-Acto knife wouldn't quite do it. If you guys are wondering why I'm using paper towels for a palette, it's because I can't find mine no matter how hard I look. So we're just gonna make do. Going on with acrylic paint and burnt umber, we're gonna have a little bit more white than burnt umber and mix that around together. And we're just gonna paint where we added latex in the previous steps. It's gonna be a little bit lighter because it's our base coat, but then we're gonna go ahead and blend it in with some other colors as well. So anywhere that you see white or latex poking through, for the spots that dry clear, it can be a little bit harder. So if you see any strictly shiny parts, you'll know that that's latex and you'll want to cover that up with paint. Now we're just switching it up and we're mixing a little bit more brown or burnt umber than white, and we're using that darker color to break up the color of our base coat. Now we're gonna go in with our black acrylic paint and paint around all of the holes in our skull. So any of the spots that maybe are decomposing faster than the rest or that are already decomposing, just to bring out those holes a little bit more. This is what it should look similar to. Alright, Saran Wrap, glue gun, and glue sticks. We're going to be covering all of this up with Saran Wrap. I know. A lot of layers, a lot of steps, a lot of repetition. So just cut the Saran Wrap in whatever size pieces you want. I like taking it in sections personally, but if you just want to wrap up the entire thing in one go for it. Using the hot glue, just a little bit, you really don't need a lot. We're going to be gluing on the Saran Wrap. And you'll just do this all the way around. Good news for this one though, we're only going to need one layer. One layer will be plenty of Saran Wrap. Also, in sticking the pieces of Saran Wrap together, you actually don't need any glue because the hot tip of the glue gun, which will come in handy later, will melt the pieces of Saran Wrap together. The only part that you really don't need a Saran Wrap is the mouth, so like the teeth area. You do want to put Saran Wrap down by the cheeks though. Don't forget the underside of him. This is the point where I said that the hot tip of the glue gun will come in handy. Just lightly touch the Saran Wrap to any places you want the holes to show, such as the eyes, probably the nose, and the holes that we created. Alright, burnt umber, green, yellow ochre, black, and white. We're going to be taking all of these colors and adding this to our finished piece, but in steps. Alright, pouring in another cap full of latex, we're going to be placing down all of the edges where we laid the holes, just so over time no dust falls in there, or I don't know what I'm saying, it's just to keep it together. Then take your base coat, so the burnt umber mixed with a little bit more white than burnt umber, and put down your base coat. Then I'm just going to take the burnt umber color and just kind of dab to again break up the color of our base coat. Alright, so the yellow ochre is a little bit more difficult to work with. It will definitely become very vibrant, as I learned from previous projects. You'll want a translucent color of yellow. To do that, I just mix a very little amount of yellow ochre acrylic paint, and then I dip the brush in water and then wipe the brush off so it's just damp. This way, there'll be more water than yellow, but the yellow will still show up. Then we'll be taking our black, gosh dang it. We will be re-outlining all of the holes that we created. After the black, I'm going in with a very little amount, so add water to it to make it easier. I'm going in with white acrylic paint with water, again, just like we did the rest of the colors, and any place that's kind of risen up from the rest or that needs a highlight, I like to just lightly highlight over it, just to give it more of a realistic 3D light hitting it kind of effect. Now we're going in with a little bit of blood and a little teeny tiny amount of black acrylic paint. This will just darken the red color, make it look a little bit nastier, older, and I'm just lightly painting around all of the holes that we created once again. This is going to end up looking a lot more vibrant, but when the blood dries, it'll become a little less obvious that it's there. Then with a Q-tip, I'm just making the bones show up a little bit more by wiping that excess blood away, and you can stop here if you would like to. If you want to give your decoration a little bit more detail, you can by following the rest of these steps. We're going to be doing the neck portion of him and making his stand look like it's a little bit more rusted. So this is a lot more steps, but it definitely helps with the finished product. This is just going to make the stand look more weathered and less brand new to fit with the theme of the rotted head, like it's been on this for a while. Poor guy. Alright, so what I'm doing here is just taking a few layers of latex and tissue together and just kind of creating what will be the hanging leftover skin of where he was impaled. Now I'm going to be dripping latex, just a couple layers of latex without the tissue. Now we're going to be taking coffee grounds and coating the entire stand in one layer of latex. So now I'm just taking my fingers and just kind of sprinkling the coffee grounds all around the side of the stand. I like doing it in 2 or 3 different parts, so while one area is drying, I can be working on another area just to save yourself some time. And then we'll be going back over the latex to seal in those coffee grounds. Some of the coffee grounds will melt, but that kind of gives it a muddy, dirtier texture and color, which I like. I'll be explaining the use of these little latex strips in a second, but basically you just want a thin layer of latex. You really only need 1 layer. Let them dry. They don't have to be perfectly straight or anything. Yes, this will be messy, but luckily latex, as long as it's on a hard surface, is very, very easy to clean up. Just wait for it to dry and peel it off. These are going to be the little guts inside of the neck. And then I'm going to be taking fake blood mixed with a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny little droplet of black acrylic paint, and we're just going to be mixing these around. Once the layer of skin is dry around the neck, put on your base coat and do the same amount of blending as you did on the head. Now we're going to be taking some yellow ochre, burnt umber, white, green, and black, and just blending the same amount of colors as we did on the head. After your layer of latex dries on the stand, you're going to want to coat the entire stand with black acrylic paint. This is what it should look similar to when you're done. Then I went ahead and went on Google Images to get some reference pictures of what rust looks like. And hey guys, look at this, I found my palette finally. So we're going to be taking some red color, some yellow ochre, and a little bit of red mixed together to create an orange for our rust color. I used a pretty even amount of both, and then I like just swiping little strips of that rust color all the way down. Some areas a little heavier than others, some areas just have like a little hint of it. So as you can see, it's just making it look a little bit older and weathered. Then some of that red color, I just like dotting this color around and then mixing it into the orange rusted color that we already put on. Taking some white, we're going to be doing the same thing, so just little strips down it, adding some water, and do the same thing all the way around it. Next, some yellow by itself and adding that color to it as well. This is about what it should look like when you're all finished. And finally, once your guts are all dry, some pieces I like having on their own, others I tuck up underneath the skin, and you guys will see that in just a second. Also, another cool feature that you can do, but I'm not going to, is put some of these in the eyes or in the nose, maybe around the teeth area to resemble like decomposing gums. I personally think it looks really cool, but I'm going to be saving all my pieces for the neck. So again, just use your latex as an adhesive, and this is where I kind of peel back the skin a little bit and put the guts up under. I was thinking about having some pieces just kind of looking like they fell onto the stand and kind of stuck there along with the rust, but I decided against it. It is kind of a cool idea if you guys want to try that. Totally up to you though. Then, so they don't stick out as much and don't look fresh, I added some yellow to them. And a little bit of burnt umber. I also like to take this fan brush and kind of put a second layer of highlights onto it. The highlights can definitely get lost easily, so I usually just go ahead and do a second layer. And it can also make it look more spooky, kind of dusty, spiderwebby. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like when you're all finished. Definitely be sure to tag me on Instagram if you end up remaking this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me via Instagram or on here. I'll try my best to link down the materials and where I got them from in the description. If you liked this tutorial and had fun with it, feel free to like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And let me know down in the comments if you've ever made your own Halloween decorations and what those Halloween decorations are. I love to get more ideas and pretend like I don't have enough Halloween decorations in my apartment when literally that's all the decorations I have. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll see you again on the next tutorial.